SpongeBob SquarePants never set out to be a horror show. But somehow, between the talking squirrels and the pineapple houses, it accidentally cooked up one of the most genuinely terrifying things to ever hit kids' TV. I'm talking about Graveyard Shift. This episode didn't need blood or jump scares to freak you out. Nope. All it needed was darkness, an empty room, and a story. It took the super comfy, familiar walls of the Krusty Krab and totally twisted them into this creepy, paranoid prison. And when it did that, it poked at one of our deepest, oldest fears. The fear of being watched. Because let's be real, sometimes the scariest monsters aren't the ones you can see charging at you, but the ones you can't see, just chilling in the shadows.
Good evening.
So it's a gorgeous, perfect night in Bikini Bottom. And for one guy, or, well, one squid, this is like the best part of his entire day. The absolute peak of existence. 8 o'clock. Closing time at the Krusty Krab. Squidward Tentacles gets to flip that beautiful little sign from open to closed. He gets to rip off that stupid greasy paper hat. He's free. The day is done. The endless parade of totally clueless customers is finally stopped. And he can just go home to his real life, his art, his clarinet. This is his safe space. This is his routine. It's the one moment of peace and quiet in a world that's usually loud, crazy, and, let's be honest, aggressively yellow.
Time right about
Now, 8 o'clock. So long, suckers. I've got a hot date with a little lady.
He's earned this, man. He survived another shift. The world can finally just leave him alone. But then, because of course, there's a knock at the door. Oh, you know that sound. If you've ever worked literally any retail or food service job, you know that sound. It's the sound of someone who thinks the rules just don't apply to them. It's some random fish, this dude named Tom, and he wants a Krabby Patty. Now Squidward just gets to point at the sign. He doesn't even have to say anything. Just read it, pal. It says closed.
What?
Are you open?
Read the sign.
It is the single most satisfying feeling a person stuck in a minimum wage job can ever experience. Denying service to someone who showed up 1 minute too late. But Tom, this absolute menace to society, just had to say the one word that can totally ruin this beautiful moment. The one word that summons the beast. Money. And I swear, Mr. Krabs just pops into existence out of thin air. He literally drops from the ceiling like a greedy crustacean Batman who heard the bat signal of loose change. The customer literally just said he'd give them his money if they were open, and that's all the reason Krabs needs. He doesn't think about his employees, their plans, their sanity. He sees a dollar sign and his brain just short circuits. He rips the closed sign in half, which, by the way, is so ridiculously dramatic, slaps that cursed hat right back on Squidward's head, and declares, with all the joy of a man who just found a new way to exploit people, that the Krusty Krab is now open forever. 24 hours a day. And just like that, Squidward's personal hell is now a 24/7 operation. He gets literally trampled by the new flood of customers, which, honestly, is the perfect visual for how his soul feels right then.
What?
Wow!
But SpongeBob? Oh, you know SpongeBob. For him, this isn't a punishment. This isn't forced overtime. This is the greatest thing that has ever happened. This is an adventure. He looks at Squidward, who is basically having a full-blown meltdown, and says with joy, "It'll be just like a sleepover, only we'll be sweaty and covered with grease." And in that one line, you totally get the core difference between these two. For Squidward, the night shift is a prison sentence. It's just more of the same misery he has to deal with every single day. But for SpongeBob, it's a playground. The rules have changed, the sun's gone down, and suddenly everything is new and exciting. He's chopping lettuce at night. He's mopping the floors at night. He even burns his hand on the grill at night. Every single boring, awful task of his job is suddenly filled with this magical, nocturnal energy. And honestly, the episode totally nails that feeling. That weird, childlike thrill of staying up late, like You're getting away with something, like you're part of a secret club that gets to see the world when everyone else is asleep. The Krusty Krab, a place of boring daytime labor, just transforms into a wonderland for him. But that feeling, that high, it can't last. Because the night, man, the night changes things. The night has teeth. But it gets so much crazier from here, you won't believe it. The first hint that this isn't going to be some fun, grease-covered sleepover party comes from the most simple, everyday chore you can imagine. Taking out the trash. Squidward, who's just desperate for one single second of peace and quiet, hands SpongeBob this dripping garbage bag. And SpongeBob, still riding that late-night high, is all, "Yeah, let's do this." He grabs the bag, runs to the door, and belts out, "Taking out the trash at..." And then he just stops. Dead in his tracks. He looks out the window into the pure, inky blackness that just swallows the restaurant. The dumpster is out there somewhere in that vast emptiness. And for the very first time in the episode, the real meaning of night just punches him in the face. It's not just a different time of day, it's an absence. An absence of light, of people, of safety. The darkness is huge, it's empty, and it is seriously, seriously scary. All of his cheerful bravado just melts away. He turns back to Squidward, his voice now a tiny little squeak, and says, "It's kinda dark out there." After some super sarcastic nagging from Squidward, SpongeBob tries to hype himself up. He screams, "For the Krusty Krab!" like he's some soldier going over the top of a trench, and he makes this terrified, high-pitched, screaming dash to the dumpster and back.
I don't know, Squidward. It's kinda dark out there.
But I thought you liked the night shift.
You're right. For the Krusty Krab!
He barely makes it. He comes back, panting and sweating, trying to act all cool, like piece of cake. But we saw it. We totally saw the pure terror in his eyes. And even more importantly, the person who needed to see it saw it. Squidward saw it. And this, right here, is where everything flips. This is the exact moment the episode goes from being a funny cartoon about working late to a full-blown horror movie. Squidward sees that tiny crack in SpongeBob's never-ending optimism, and he decides he's going to shatter it into a million pieces. He's annoyed, he's miserable, he's bored out of his mind, and he just wants to make SpongeBob suffer for being so damn cheerful about this whole situation. So he decides to tell him a story. A ghost story. He asks SpongeBob if he's ever heard the story of the hash-slinging slasher. The name itself is ridiculous, right? It's clunky. Squidward is literally just making this up as he goes, and you can tell. SpongeBob can't even get the name right. The slash-bringing hasher? It's a funny little moment, classic SpongeBob, but it's also super important because it shows you how vulnerable he is right now. Squidward, now fully committed to his villain role for the night, goes all in. He spins this tale of a former Krusty Krab fry cook. Just like SpongeBob, he says, only this guy was clumsy. And one night, while cutting up patties, he accidentally cut off his own hand. Now, SpongeBob, being a sponge, just pulls his own arm off to show how it would just grow back. A little bit of casual body horror the show just throws in there, which, like, SpongeBob, why are you like this? But Squidward immediately shuts that down. Except he wasn't a sponge, so it didn't grow back. And you just see the horror dawn on SpongeBob's face. This is real. This is permanent. The story gets even darker. The slasher, now handless, replaced his missing limb with a rusty spatula. And then, as if that wasn't bad enough, he got hit by a bus. And then, in the most savage corporate insult ever, they fired him at his funeral. It's so dark and so funny at the same time, it's genius. So now, Squidward explains, his ghost comes back to the Krusty Krab every single Tuesday night to get his horrible spatula-based revenge. And, of course, SpongeBob points out that tonight is Tuesday night. The story itself is classic campfire stuff. It's built on something we can all relate to, a workplace accident, and then it's warped into pure nightmare fuel. But the absolute genius of Squidward's story and what drives the entire rest of the episode is the 3 signs. The 3 things that tell you the slasher is about to show up. First, the lights will flicker on and off. Second, the phone will ring, and when you answer it, no one will be there. And finally, the ghost of the very same bus that ran him over will pull up outside, and he'll step out of it, cross the street, tap on the window with his rusty spatula hand, and then he gets you. These 3 signs build a structure for the fear. They give us, the audience, and SpongeBob, something specific to look out for. It turns just passively waiting into this active, heart-pounding dread. Squidward finishes his story, cackling like a total madman at the sight of SpongeBob's hysterical, never-ending screaming. He eventually has to tell him to chill, admitting it was all just a joke. But it's too late. The story's out there now. The idea has been planted in SpongeBob's mind, and more importantly, it's been planted in our minds too. And it is not going away. But things only get more bizarre from here. We jump forward in time. It's 3:00 a.m. now. The episode throws in this hilarious little gag that shows us the only person on Earth who would actually want a Krabby Patty at this ungodly hour is Patrick Star, whose alarm clock literally goes off just for his 3 a.m. patty. It's a great little joke, but when we cut back to the Krusty Krab, the vibe is totally different. The late night rush is over. That initial excitement SpongeBob felt? Gone. Totally evaporated. Now there's just silence. A deep, heavy, uncomfortable silence. It's too quiet. And this is when the true horror of Graveyard Shift really starts to sink in. Because it's not about a ghost with a spatula hand anymore. It's about being alone. It's about being stuck and isolated in a place that should feel familiar and safe, but now feels deeply, deeply wrong. It's about the darkness pressing in from all sides. It's about the fear of being watched. Think about what the Krusty Krab actually is. It's basically a glass box, a fishbowl. During the day, that's cool. Light comes in, you can see out, people can see in, it feels like it's part of the world. But at night, those same huge windows become these dark mirrors. All they do is reflect the empty, brightly lit inside. SpongeBob and Squidward are totally exposed. Anyone or anything could be out there in that crushing blackness, just staring in at them, and they'd have absolutely no idea until it was way, way too late. This is such a primal fear, man. It's why we pull the covers over our heads at night. It's why we hate having our back to an open door. It's that feeling of being completely exposed and vulnerable, of being observed by some unseen, unknown thing. This episode is so brilliant because it doesn't need to show us a monster. Our own imagination, supercharged by that dumb story Squidward told, does all the heavy lifting. We, right along with the characters, start to fill that darkness with our own worst fears. Every shadow is a threat. Every noise is a footstep. And then, it happens. The first sign. The lights start to flicker on and off, just like the story said. Squidward, of course, immediately blames SpongeBob. He thinks it's just a prank, a lame attempt to get him back for the story.
A ghost town in here. Very funny, SpongeBob.
But SpongeBob is literally on the ceiling, washing the ceiling, nowhere near the light switch. Squidward sees this, and his smug, cynical confidence just starts to crack. You can see the doubt creeping into his eyes. He tries to make sense of it. He has to. He tells himself it must be faulty wiring. This old dump isn't meant to be running 24 hours a day. But you can tell he doesn't fully believe it. He's starting to fall into the trap he himself built. He's starting to believe his own lie, and right on cue, as if summoned by his own rising panic, the phone rings. Squidward answers it, still trying to keep it together. And there's just silence. Nothing. He says hello again and again. Now it's SpongeBob's turn to be the smug one. He thinks Squidward is playing a prank now, trying to get him back. The phone will ring and there will be no one there, he mocks him. But one look at Squidward's face tells you everything you need to know. SpongeBob, I'm not doing this.
What? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Nice try, Squidward.
Nice try what?
The phone will ring, and there'll be no one there. Oh, you crack me up.
SpongeBob, I'm not doing this!
2 of the 3 signs, 2 parts of his fake, made-up prophecy, have now come true. The impossible is happening. Squidward desperately tries to remember the 3rd sign. He's muttering to himself, recounting the lights in the phone call. And then he blurts out, "And the walls will ooze green slime?" And right as he says it, the walls do, in fact, begin to ooze green slime. But he quickly remembers, oh wait, they always do that. It's such a hilarious beat because it shows how even the normal, disgusting state of the Krusty Krab is starting to feel ominous and threatening. Then he hears a low, distant rumble, the sound of a motor. He slowly turns to the window and a huge, dark bus pulls up right outside the Krusty Krab. SpongeBob, still kinda clueless about the full horror, just casually remarks, "I didn't know the buses ran this late." But Squidward knows. They don't.
I didn't know the buses ran this late.
They don't.
The bus just sits there for a moment, and then it pulls away, leaving behind a single, solitary figure. A tall, dark silhouette standing across the street. We can't see any details. We can't see a face. All we can see is its ominous, vaguely human shape against the oppressive darkness. And one other thing. It's holding a spatula. The 3rd sign. The final piece of the puzzle. The story is true, it's all true. The hash-slinging slasher is here. This moment is the absolute peak of the episode's tension. Man, it is genuinely terrifying. Squidward is so scared that hair literally sprouts from his bald head and starts wiggling around. He can't even say the name of his own creation right, stuttering and stammering through the same mispronunciations that SpongeBob did earlier. The guy who made the monster is now its most terrified victim. The irony is just beautiful. But then, in a twist that only SpongeBob could deliver, our yellow hero doesn't scream in terror. He doesn't panic. He starts to cry. But they're not tears of fear. They're tears of joy. He looks at Squidward and says, "I am just so touched that you would go through the trouble to dress up as a ghostly fry cook. Just to entertain me. You must really like me." This is, without a doubt, one of the single funniest moments in the entire history of the show.
That's not it. I am just so touched that you would go to the trouble to dress up as a ghostly fry cook and stand on the other side of the street just to entertain me.
It is so absurd, so completely out of left field, that it totally shatters the nail-biting tension for one glorious, beautiful second. It's the perfect summary of SpongeBob's entire character. His boundless, unshakable optimism, and his complete inability to even imagine that someone, especially Squidward, might genuinely want to scare him or cause him harm. Squidward, who is still in a state of pure, complete terror, has to snap him out of it. He has to lay out the cold, hard, logical facts of their impending doom. SpongeBob, there are 2 problems with your theory. 1, I hate you. And 2, how can that be me when I'm standing right here? And with that one simple, undeniable line, the reality of the situation comes crashing back down. The figure is real, it's not Squidward, and it is coming for them. The slasher starts to walk towards the door. It taps on the glass with its spatula hand. Now SpongeBob gets it. Now the fear hits him. He screams. They both scream. They cling to each other in sheer terror as the figure walks through the door and slowly, deliberately, silently approaches the counter. In what they both believe are their final moments on this mortal coil, Squidward confesses that, despite everything he's ever said or done, he has always sort of liked SpongeBob. That's a huge moment for him. And SpongeBob, in return, confesses, "Squidward, I used your clarinet to unclog my toilet."
No matter what I've said, I've always sort of liked you.
Squidward, I used your clarinet to unclog my toilet.
It's a perfect joke that proves that even at the literal end of the world, SpongeBob will always be SpongeBob, and Squidward will always be his unwilling, long-suffering neighbor. The figure finally reaches the counter. It steps into the light, and it's just a kid. A nerdy-looking green fish holding a spatula, asking for a job application. He holds up his spatula, showing that he has a perfectly normal hand underneath it. He was just trying to show his resume. He's the one who called earlier but hung up because he was too nervous to speak. The bus? He just took the bus to get here. The entire terrifying prophecy, the flickering lights, the silent phone call, the ghostly bus, the spatula-wielding menace, it was all just a series of bizarre, totally unrelated coincidences. The tension just drains out of the room completely. The monster was never real. The fear was all in their heads. But just as you're breathing that huge sigh of relief, just as you think the episode is totally over, Squidward asks the million-dollar question, the one loose end. Wait a second. If that was you on the phone and you on the bus, then who was flickering the lights? The camera whips over to the light switch, and there, flicking the switch up and down with this goofy, mischievous grin on his face, is Nosferatu, the actual literal vampire from the 1922 silent horror film classic.
Nosferatu!
It is so random, so deeply surreal, that it just breaks your brain for a second. It makes no sense, and that's why it's perfect. SpongeBob, Squidward, and the new fish applicant all just look over, completely unfazed, and say, in this super casual deadpan tone, as if this is a totally normal thing to see, Nosferatu! He just smiles this creepy little smile, flicks the lights off one last time, and the episode just ends. This final gag is the absolute cherry on top of a perfect 11-minute masterpiece. It totally changes how you see everything we just watched. It turns out they were being watched the whole time. There really was a supernatural presence in the Krusty Krab, but it wasn't the horrifying, vengeful ghost of some angry ex-employee that their imaginations cooked up. It was just this weird, classic movie monster who apparently gets his kicks from messing with the electricity in fast food restaurants at 3 in the morning. The ultimate fear, the fear of the evil, unknown thing lurking in the dark, is completely replaced by the goofy, harmless, and known weirdness of Nosferatu just hanging out. Graveyard Shift is a work of pure genius because it understands how fear works on a microscopic level. It shows us how our own minds are the most powerful horror movie directors in the world, how they can build a prison of pure paranoia from nothing more than a dumb story in a dark room. Fear of what we can't see, the fear of what might be out there, will always be more powerful than any monster you can actually put on screen. Well, unless that monster is Nosferatu. He's just hilarious. And if you want to see what happens when this kind of fear isn't a joke, when it's used as a weapon, check out our video on SpongeBob's most controversial episode.